There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel. I hope you're all having a very good day. Now, we are in the end game now, okay? I have been meaning to do a video for some theories that I have going on with the Avengers Endgame movie. Now, in light of recent events, I just want you all to know I don't have like any kind of inside sources or anything like that. I'm sorry if my volume's a bit loud there and clipping. It looks like it is. There we go. Is that a little bit better? I sure hope so. Had some technical difficulties. That's why I am a few minutes late here on the show. I'm supposed to start at 5:30. It started a few minutes late. Anyway, thank you all so much for showing up. As I said, we are in the end game now. I've been planning on getting some videos produced, some nicer videos than these live videos. These live videos are nice when you're just trying to hurry up and get something out there. But as far as like production value and things like that, as you guys can see, this looks nothing like the videos that I normally do. I do apologize about that. I do like actually producing nice looking videos here on my channel. I like doing live videos because I feel I'm okay at them, but I don't like doing them because they don't look as nice as the well-produced videos that I like to do. They got better sound, they got better picture quality and everything like that. And plus, I am using an encoder here, and it's a little bit different when it comes to the streaming, so that's why I'm having some difficulties. There's a learning curve when it comes to things like this. So, again, if you please could bear with me through some of these, I guess the learning curve here on using these this streamer. I guess it's what is it? It's Open Broadcaster or OBS. What it is when you do the live videos, it's like a little program where you can put different things and overlay them. Like in case you didn't see, another one of my little technical difficulties thing here at the very beginning of this video. Okay, now. What I want to talk today is about the Avengers Endgame coming up. Like I said, I've got a lot of theories, and I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about some of the Easter eggs that I've seen in these trailers and everything. And like I said, we are in the Endgame now. We have been getting like multiple TV spots and things a day as Marvel Studios ramps up the marketing for this movie to build up the hype. Now, for most of us, the hype is already there. We're already hyped up. We're beyond ready. Now, there are other people out there who are not as ready as me or you may be. Simply, just because there's some people who just aren't into comic book movies, and there are other people they're still trying to get back in. Like my mom, she's somebody who I took to see Avengers Infinity War. She loved it. She walked out of the theater and she's like, "Oh wow, I've got to go watch all these movies now," so she knows what's going on in the next movie, or so she kind of gets what's going on. Well, and that's one thing a lot of people have talked about is like the only people who are really on board with this and ready for it and hyped up are us, the fans who are already on board. So I mean, very well that could be true. But today I want to get into some of the Easter eggs that I haven't seen people talking about. Okay, there are a lot of things that have been happening in these movies, and a lot of things have been happening in these trailers that I think are obviously going to play a part in Avengers Endgame as we do get closer towards to the movie coming out. There are some things that people haven't been talking about. There's even things in the movies that people just don't necessarily talk about. Maybe they haven't picked up on them, or maybe they feel it's irrelevant, and things like that. I honestly don't know. Now, I will say that the first thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to flash a quick picture of it here, and I apologize. Like I said, I am working with my encoder here, so I am still on the learning curve. I was crunched for time. Now, in case you don't already know, I only do YouTube part-time. In case you can't tell by the size of my channel, I am just getting started. I've only been doing this a few months, so I'm still learning. But I also run my own business, so it's not like I'm just, out there. I have a very stressful life, so, a lot of that plays into the channel, and I apologize for that. I realize that you viewers are affected by this, but like I said, I own a small business. I run my own business. I am my own boss. If you've ever been in that situation, it can be really stressful, and there's a lot of things you got to get done, and that's part of the reason why some of my videos have been late as of lately. Like tax season and all that kind of stuff coming up. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We are here to talk about Avengers Endgame. So let's get into this. Now, like I said, I don't have inside sources. I know there's been that leak that's been going around. Some turd that actually got to see the movie has been going out there and, you know, put it out there on the internet, and people got a hold of it. Of course, trolls got a hold of it. Now, I can tell you the trolls who are doing this, they're not you, they're not me, they're not fans of these movies. They're people out there, probably people that we know, who just feel like spoiling this movie. You know, they think they don't care. But one of these days, maybe we'll get paybacks and we'll start ruining Games of Thrones or some crap, you know, some crap show like that for them. Sons of Anarchy or some of that bullshit. I don't care about any of that, okay? Whatever about a TV show. Now, I was talking to my wife about it, and she was talking about the spoilers and everything that people are putting out there and just how turdy it is. Now, the thing is these people aren't fans. They don't care. They're just trying to ruin it for us fans. Now, most normally during any other movie, it doesn't really matter. Captain Marvel, did it matter? Did spoilers matter? They didn't. Okay, Infinity War, I would say they did. When the next movie gets ready to come out after Infinity War, Spider-Man Far From Home, after Endgame, do spoilers matter? Is there something that's going to spoil the movie? Absolutely not. Okay, and the reason why is these Avengers, especially the Avengers movies, because the Avengers movies are where they take a few properties and they tie them together. Okay, it doesn't matter, you know, when we're watching, you know, the next Thor movie getting ready to come out. That kind of stuff don't matter. I mean, spoilers, sure, there's things you probably don't want to be spoiled in the movie, but Avengers Endgame, it's the culmination of 21 films. So maybe these trolls just don't quite get it, or maybe they very much do. But this is the culmination of 21 films. It's like a cultural phenomenon, okay? Something like this probably isn't going to happen again for a long time. Even their next movie, the next Avengers movie or whatever it may be, you know, their next big movie, it may not even be this big. I mean, this has been like an epic event that we had, who knows? We may not see it again in our lifetime. So with all that being said, that's not what I'm covering here today. I'm not here to spoil anything. I would never actually post spoilers for you to ruin your movie going experience in that way, and I've talked about that in a couple of my recent videos. Now, like I said, the people out there doing this, they are complete trolls. They don't care. They're just trying to ruin the experience for you. And like I said, maybe one of these days we'll get paybacks with their Game of Thrones or their Son of Anarchy or whatever the hell they watch. And, you know, it won't be me because, for one, I don't watch any of those shows to spoil it. And two, I don't care enough about it to spoil it for somebody else. Anyway, being through that, let's get right into this. Now, as I said, there are theories and Easter eggs in these trailers that people aren't talking about. And, you know, like I said, they just keep coming out and coming out and coming out. And it's going to be relentless. Now, I'm not going to be able to pause this slideshow, so I'm going to put the picture up, and then it's probably going to come right down afterward because I don't know how to get it to continuously go on and off. So I'm going to show you this picture right here. Here's the first thing. Now, I've got a lot to cover with this particular photo, but the first one is right here. Oh man, but that was quick. Oh, come on. Can you give me just 1 minute here? I got just 1 second. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Kid stuff. Anyway, if you have kids, I'm sure you understand. Okay, now, like I said, let me get into... I'm sorry, here, I gotta put my glasses back on. I'm blind, and I just don't want the glare here from my glasses bothering you all on the stream. But let me see, where's this slideshow at? That's not the slide I want to talk about. The slide I actually want to talk about is... Man, why is it scrolling through so fast? Pause when not visible. Pause when... Okay. Let me see. Transition. Okay. It's probably going to have to go through all of these things here. Yeah. Alright. Dang it. Let me see what I can do here. Can I... We're probably going to have to let this slide go through until we get through what I'm trying to show you. I apologize about that. Like I said, I am new to working with this encoder, but there are some things here I'm getting ready to show you, and I don't want to ruin all of these things for you. Where is my settings here? Let's see. Okay, there we go. Now maybe that'll work. There we go. This right here. Okay, Hawkeye. Great. Now it's gonna change again on me. This is the worst. Okay. Now the first thing, you know what? Screw the slideshow. Okay. The first thing there is that image I just showed you of Hawkeye is you see him there. We see him there on the farm where he is showing his daughter, and he's obviously teaching her some archery and doing some different things like that. And a lot of people seem to think that Clint Barton is going to watch his family dust away in this picture. And I just want you all to know, I really don't think that's going to happen for a number of reasons. And the first of those reasons is, obviously we can see he's got his ankle monitor there on, and his family is playing in the background. Okay, now this is kind of something big that I want to touch on. Everybody seems to think that Clint Barton is going to watch his family dust away here, and I actually have to say that I think this is far from the truth. Okay, and that comes down to the timing of things that happened in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie. Okay, we can see that Clint is on house arrest there still, and if we go back to the Ant-Man and Wasp movie, we can see that at the very beginning of the movie, we see that Scott Lang has actually 3 days left on house arrest before he gets off, and that happens at the very beginning of the movie after he crashes through the fence, and his ankle monitor goes off, and Wu comes and they're searching his house and everything. Okay, now in that scene, he says that he's got 3 days left. Why would he be trying to escape? And then the scene goes on, and his ex-wife comes to pick up his daughter. She comes to pick up Cassie, and he specifically tells him as they're leaving. He tells Cassie, he says, just wait for. I'll be off in a few more days. I'll go pick you up this weekend, and we're gonna go paint the whole town red, and we're gonna eat so much ice cream till we puke. Okay, now so we know he's got 3 days left on house arrest, and his daughter Cassie is just going home. Now I'm just gonna assume that his visitation is for weekends. So he's had her for the weekend. She's getting ready to go off to school for the week. Now at the end of the movie, we see, towards the end of the movie, we see him getting off of house arrest. He gets off house arrest. We see him take his ankle monitor off, and then at the very end of the movie, right before the credits, after this happens, we see him going to her house to pick her up. Now, I'm just going to assume that this is actually the next weekend after she just left, which is after the events of the movie, after he got off of house arrest. So that means if he has 3 days left, she's going home after a weekend visit. That means he's going to get off house arrest on a Wednesday. We're just going to say this Wednesday. I'm just going with a normal format week and his daughter's visitation. Okay, so he gets off house arrest on Wednesday. He goes to pick her up on Friday, and this is at the end of the movie. And he goes to pick her up so they can go out for their ice cream. He can have his time with her for the weekend. And then we flash to the mid-credit scene where we see Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne and Hope Van Dyne, where they all dust away once Scott Lang gets into the quantum realm. Now here's where I believe we won't see Clint Barton's family dusting in that picture, because we clearly see that Scott Lang goes into the quantum realm at that time and then dusts away. I'm going to guess that the events of Avengers Infinity War happen possibly that weekend after he's getting off of house arrest. Okay, and I'm guessing it's going to happen either that Friday or that Saturday. And part of the reason that I actually believe that is because we see nothing in the movie indicating that attack on New York or the attack in Scotland when the Black Order arrives to get the Mind Stone and to get the Time Stone. Now this is something that we would actually see in this movie, and the reason we would actually see that in this movie is because we can clearly see in an Avengers Infinity War that the TV behind Wanda and Vision when they were there in Scotland clearly showed Tony Stark was missing, and it showed the attack on New York. The same thing would happen in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie. He would see it on the news, and he would know something is going on. And that's why I am guessing that this particular scene with Hawkeye happens during the events of the Ant-Man and Wasp movie, because he is still on house arrest. Now, I'm guessing that he goes into the quantum realm. I'm guessing the attack happens, and possibly Scott Lang is going into the quantum realm. He said they're going to get quantum healing particles to help their friend Ghost. Now, I'm just going out on a limb here, guessing that they've seen the attack. He's going to get the healing particles for Ghost to help. Maybe they have plans to go to New York to help. Sure, he is off of house arrest, okay? He's off of house arrest now. but he would technically still be on probation or something. He probably still couldn't leave town. But after this attack happens in New York, he probably says, screw it, they've got to do something, and he's going to go help. Now, this only plays into why I think Clint Barton would still be wouldn't be watching his family dust away here. Like I said, he's still on house arrest. We see his ankle monitor on in that picture, and like I said, it's possible that they didn't go onto house arrest at the same time, just merely due to the fact that they're in different states, and maybe they did just, their trials and things didn't go through at the exact same time. I'm just going to make the assumption that it all happened at the same time. The crime happened at the same time, and the way things happen, it would all be happening at the same time. There's probably excuse. I'm sure somebody will come up with the excuse that, oh, hey, maybe he just took him time to get out into the country to take his ankle monitor off. Not how it works, okay? Just not how it works. I'm sorry. But I believe that we won't see Clint Barton's family dust in the scene just due to that timing. He's still on house arrest. Scott Lang is still on house arrest. In Avengers Infinity War, Natasha Romanoff even says, when they're having a conversation about him, that he went on house arrest and he couldn't be. He was just on his farm, just with his family. And then he took the same deal that Scott did. So she knows that he is on house arrest. Now, she may not know when he is set to get off house arrest, which, according to my theory, at the time of that all this attack and everything happened, he would have been off house arrest already, as we've seen Scott Lang get off house arrest, and then the decimation happened after that had happened. I believe it took Thanos at least a day or two to collect all the stones when he finally got back and did the snap. Okay, so Scott Lang just got off house arrest. I'm gonna guess Clint Barton would have been getting off house arrest at the same time. So that's why I believe that we don't see his family dust in that particular scene where he's teaching his daughter archery. Now, the other thing about Clint Barton and his family getting dusted and things like that, a lot of people have said, maybe he just seen his whole family dust away, and that is certainly possible. But I do have another retort to that. Let's just say that, maybe my timing is right. Maybe it's close. And he is eventually going to see his family dust away either way. Now, the thing is about that is we got to think about the law of averages. If Thanos is decimating 50% of the world's population, just going by the law of averages, Clint has 5 members of his family there in that picture. There's 5 of them. There's his 2 sons, his wife, and his daughter. How many of those are going to dust away just going by the law of averages? Okay, going by the law of averages, and we're going to give them some here. We're going to say 3 of them. 3 of them dust away, and 2 of them remain, okay? I'm just going to go off of this. It's a law of averages. Don't kill me here, or you can bust my chops down in the comments. That is fine. But law of averages says that he's going to lose 3 out of his family members, okay? We're just going to run with that. Now, according to the vision that we see there, we see him, let's see if I can bring it up there again. We see him there with his daughter, okay, and his family is there in the background. Now, they're there in the background, and to me that just seems a little indicative of the fact that they are the ones who are going to dust away, okay? His wife and his 2 sons. I'm guessing maybe his daughter does not dust away. And that just seems, to me, it just seems a little bit obvious just due to that imagery that they showed us in that particular scene. And that all comes back to law of averages, and then also just like they're in the background, him and his daughter in the foreground. It just seems like the kind of imaging that a director would put there on purpose to let you know. I mean, many people probably just don't realize this about framing and shots and things like that. That they are in the background and the other 2 are in the foreground. Now, what happens to his daughter when he goes off and becomes Ronin? Now, I'm going to guess that and I'll get more into this in a minute, in this same particular timeline, maybe he does go to end up becoming Ronin because of that. Okay, that's certainly possible. So then what happened to his daughter? In my theory, I don't know, maybe his daughter stayed behind in their small town and maybe she protected their farm, or maybe she got the archery skills and she's out helping protect people around her city. Because after the decimation, I mean, sure, everybody's devastated, but you got to know that there are bad people out there who have bad intentions, and maybe they need some protection. And obviously I think that's probably what we're going to see the Avengers do in this movie during the time after the decimation. Now, I think maybe his daughter is out there helping protect people, out there who can't protect themselves, and maybe just maybe, she has Clint Barton's archery set, and maybe that's why we see in the scene where he is looks like he's killing the Yakuza there in Japan, maybe that's why we don't see him donning his archery set. Maybe he actually left that fancy archery set to his daughter, who is actually qualified to use them at this point. We can see in the video, in that picture, that she is clearly doing a good job, and you could see him being very proud. Now, I could totally be wrong here. Let me know what you think down in the comments about that. Clint Barton does not watch his family dust away in that particular scene where he's teaching his daughter archery. I don't know. I think I built a pretty solid case for why I don't think it's going to happen in that particular scene. Like I said, the timing of Scott Lang getting off of house arrest, and the timing of just all of that, the timing of the attack, the timing of the snap, when the Pims dust away, when the Pims dust away, it all just seems to coincide that we're not going to see Clint Barton and his family dust away in that particular scene. But now another thing, I already mentioned the bows. Now the other thing, coming back to Ant-Man, okay, I'm not totally for sure how that is going to work as far as him getting out of the quantum realm. If you've seen any of my past videos, I do theorize that one of the ants is actually going to help Scott Lang escape the quantum realm. And we also got to remember in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie, they can actually communicate from the quantum realm to our realm through radio. We clearly see that when Hank Pym is talking to Scott Lang once he goes into the quantum realm there at the very end. So it's possible that Scott Lang can communicate with either the ants or possibly the ant that was playing drums in the post-credit scene was playing the exact same drum beat that Scott Lang was earlier in the movie. Remember, this same ant is programmed to follow Scott Lang's footsteps. It's supposed to replicate what he does. So maybe the ant is just going through his time and eventually ends up there, ready to help Scott Lang get out of the quantum realm. Just a theory I have. It's just a theory, okay? But I don't know. If you ask me, I think it's a solid one. And if we're theorists and we're presenting our own theories, obviously we believe them anyway. The next one I have to talk about, and there's that scene once again with Scott Lang. The next one I want to talk about is coming up right here. And I wish I knew how to do this thing a little bit better. Is this scene right here with Scott Lang? Now, you may remember not too long ago, a lot of people. There we go. And I debunked that theory that he was carrying Hank Pym's lab with that right there. You can see in that picture where he clearly had a wagon in his hand, a wagon handle. Now, the thing that we don't get out of those, let me see, is that going to come back up yet? No, it's not. The thing that we don't get, nobody's been talking about in that particular scene, is the fact that if you zoom in on that house that's there in the background, there is an address on it, okay? And the address that's on there is 1064. Okay, now this is where things are going to really get crazy. Now, we've seen set photos. We've seen different in these trailers. We've seen different looking versions of all these characters. Now, I don't know. There's just so much going on in these trailers. It's so hard to say what's really going on in them. And in this particular scene, we see Scott Lang there. People think that seems to be Hank Pym's lab, and I can tell you it's not. It's just a wagon. But the address in the back is 1064. Now, 1064, I'm just going to go off on a limb and guess that they are referring to Avengers issue 10 that was issued in 1964. Now, the importance of this is the importance of this particular issue is Immortus. Immortus is in this issue, and what we find in this issue is at the very beginning, like the Avengers are at Avengers Compound training. And then it flashes to the Masters of Evil, who are made up of Baron Zemo, the Enchantress, who is an Asgardian wizard, I guess you could say. Much like I don't know, I'm not too familiar with this character, but she seems like she knows magic, much like the Scarlet Witch does. Now, the other person is Scourge the Executioner, and so all of them are the Masters of Evil, and they're there planning and scheming, and then all of a sudden Enchantress has like a headache shake. Oh no, something's coming, something from the distant future. Well, and Zemo's like, oh, stop it, try to block it out. Well, she's like, I can't. Well, what and then enters Immortus. So Immortus goes to the Masters of Evil and says, "Hey guys, I'm here. I want to lead you. If you guys follow me, we'll take out the Avengers." And Baron Zemo pretty much just says, "Are you kidding me? Like, no. Why would we follow you? We have absolutely no reason to follow you." And so he goes, "If you want us to follow you, you have to destroy one of the Avengers." And Immortus says, "Oh, are you kidding me? I'll destroy all of them." So what happens is Immortus, he basically leads the Avengers into a trap, and he does that by luring Rick Jones. If you don't know who Rick Jones is, it's pretty irrelevant right now because Rick Jones isn't in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But he lures Rick Jones into a trap, and to give him superpowers, which eventually brings Captain America there. He tells Captain America, like, "Look, hey man, the Avengers are the ones who gave him up, so you need to go talk to them." And so Captain America goes to Avengers headquarters, where he's actually so pissed off. He goes in and he just starts swinging at these fools. Like they're all fighting him, and Thor just finally stops him and says, "Hey dude, whoa, slow down, bro, slow down, slow your roll. What's going on?" And he's like, "Dude, you guys gave up Rick Jones, man, and now this dude's got him." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Okay, well let's go find him. Let's go talk to him." So they all go to confront Immortus. All the Avengers and Captain America. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? So then what happens once they go to confront Immortus is Immortus at this point has already sent Rick Jones back to 1760s London, like the London Tower, and has him being guarded by a bunch of guards. So the Avengers go to confront Immortus, and in case you don't know, before I get into more of that, in case you don't know, Immortus is the master of time, and he is the ruler of the mystic realm known as Limbo, where things never change. Okay, things never change. A lot of things going on with that. Okay, so Immortus comes back, and Immortus does have some alter egos, and I'll get into that in just a minute. So Immortus comes back, and they go and confront him. So he attacks the Avengers, and the way he fights is he uses historical figures from the past. So the Avengers end up having to fight Merlin, Goliath, like Samson and Goliath, Merlin, Goliath, and Hercules. That's kind of a choice selection there. Anyway, with the Eternals movie coming out, it seems a little odd. But anyway, so he goes to, he sends all these people to attack. The Avengers have to fight Merlin, Hercules, and Goliath. So they go and they fight, and they defeat them. So Immortus takes Captain America with him back through time, back into 1760s London, where he tells Captain America, "Hey, if you want Rick Jones, you have to go save him. You have to go through all my men, and I will, and then if you can save him, I'll send you back to your time." To which he actually keeps his word. Captain America goes through and makes quick work of all his goons. Immortus keeps his word and sends Captain America back to his time with Rick Jones. Now, in the meantime, what happened was the Masters of Evil, as I said, made up of Zemo, Enchantress, and Scourge, the Executioner, they actually go to Avengers headquarters and attack the Avengers there at Avengers headquarters. Wow, that sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like that's what we're going to be getting in Avengers Endgame. I could be wrong, but according to the trailers, it looks like that's what we're getting. So the Masters of Evil are there attacking the Avengers at Avengers headquarters, and they're fighting a losing battle. I mean, the Avengers they're getting their butts whipped. Then what happens? Captain America gets sent back. He gets sent back to the Avengers headquarters, and he enters in a scene that is so reminiscent of Thor arriving in Wakanda in Avengers Infinity War. All we see is just kind of like a flashlight and Captain America's shield flying out, bing, 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 and it's playing pinball with the Masters of Evil. So he comes in, turns the tables. They start to defeat the Masters of Evil. Just as they're about to win, Enchantress sets a little spell. And what she does is she sets this little spell that sends them back in time. He says, Baron Zemo specifically says, "Send us back to a time before Immortus got here." So Enchantress sets her spell, and it rewinds time back to right in the moment before Immortus had arrived. So what we see is after she resets time, we see the Avengers back in Avengers compound as they are practicing, and they sit down for their board meeting. Now, then we flash back to the scene of the Masters of Evil in their secret lair. Now what happens at this point is we see that the Masters of Evil are once again there plotting against the Avengers, and Scourge is sitting there like, man, this is just a foregone conclusion. Just forget it. Just give up. and like it's pointless. And Zemo in turn scolds him and says, "Are you kidding me, you fool? We come closer every single time." Okay, now he says we come closer every single time. He is basically, Enchantress rewound time, sent them back to just before Immortus got there, and then they're sitting there having a conversation. They're aware that it happened, and they say, okay, we're gonna go attack these guys. What's going on? And what's going on is they're planning they're plotting against the Avengers, and then all of a sudden we see once again Enchantress is like, oh no, my head, something from the distant future. And, once again, we see Zemo telling her to stop it. And we know what's getting ready to happen is Immortus is getting ready to appear once again. He's getting ready to appear once again to, tell them that he's there to lead them. He's going to help them defeat the Avengers. Time is repeating itself. This is something that we've theorized about Avengers Infinity War, and going forward into this next movie that they're in like a time loop that Doctor Strange has actually set them in. So... And that's in Avengers issue 10 from 1964. 1064, the same address that happens to be behind Scott Lang on that house in that trailer. Now, the reason I think this is important that I want to discuss this is because we clearly see that this book revolves around Immortus coming back, using heroes from the past to attack the Avengers, and they rewind time. So the Masters of Evil in this book are essentially in their own Infinity War where they're trying to defeat the Avengers. Now, more about Immortus. As I said, Immortus is the master of time, and he is the ruler of the mystic world, or the mystic realm known as Limbo, where things never change. And he's trying to get his reality. I'm not sure if he's trying to get his reality changed. He don't really say what his agenda is, but he says that he wants to rule basically this century, which back in them comic books it would have been the 20th century, not our current century. But anyway, so Immortus's other alter ego, in case you don't know, is Kang the Conqueror. Okay, and Kang had actually previously attacked the Avengers before this particular issue. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that we will get Kang the Conqueror in the Avengers Endgame. Of course, there's speculation that we're going to get a lot of people. But the thing I wanted to point out about that issue was we got the address. People haven't been talking about that, and I'm so surprised because we... us nerds and theorists have been going through and combing through all of these spots looking for all of these little clues, and to me this is one of the hugest clues that we've got so far. So and nobody's talking about it, and I believe it is actually referring to that Avengers issue. Now the other reason I believe that is, man, I probably didn't even leave it here. Something else I've got to show you. Okay, recently, if you caught my comic book pull list this week, they released some other Avengers issues. One of them titled Endgame, that was basically, I believe it was based on Avengers issue number 70. And then there's also one that was Thanos, or there was Nebula. It was Nebula, and it's basically where Nebula actually, and I can't remember what issue that's from, but Nebula actually went and hijacked the Sanctuary 2 and used it to attack the Avengers, and was just using it for her own means to do bad things. And the other issue was Thanos and Gamora, and that particular issue was pretty dark, man. It was pretty dark, and I gotta hand it to these guys back in the days writing these books, man. This Thanos and Gamora issue was based off of, man, I can't remember exactly what issue it was based off of. Give me just a second, just 1 second. I'll be right back, and I'll tell you. Okay, now here it is. Here's the issue I was talking about. No, this isn't it. Yeah. No. I must have forgotten all the issues. Where'd they go? There we go. Okay. In this issue, where is it at? In this particular issue, Thanos and Gamora, we learn a little bit more about Gamora's history. And man, like I said, I've got to hand it to these dudes when they wrote this issue. It's pretty dark. It's pretty gruesome. Oh man, what is this issue based off? It is based off of Warlock and the Infinity Watch #9. Now, if you don't know what the Infinity Watch is, I believe the Infinity Watch has actually happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's why the stones are where they are. But in this particular issue of the Infinity Watch #9, we see more about Thanos' and Gamora's relationship. And basically, what happens is you see Gamora she's being used. She's actually being used by Galactus as a tool to help unenslave the entity known as, I believe it was Eternity. I think it was Eternity in this particular issue, and so he's using that. So she's going back through all her memories, traumatized. She's one of the children of Thanos, and obviously she was kidnapped and everything. Well, in this issue, like, it's pretty gruesome. Like, she's left on the sanctuary while Thanos is on this particular planet, and he's got some stuff he's got to attend to, and he tells her, stay on this ship. And to which she doesn't listen. He's been training her to be this fierce warrior and everything. So she thought it would be all cool. Well, so she goes out wandering around, and she's like in such awe of this world that she's never been to. Well, what happens is she gets taken to the seedy part of town. She's in like an alleyway, and she gets attacked by a handful of guys who have some very bad intentions. And I'm not sure. I honestly don't want to say what happens to her. You can probably guess what happens to her when there's a bunch of lowlifes around and she's all by herself, this young girl, around all some really unsavory characters. I mean, I don't think I really need to say it, do I? The R word, okay? And so she gets violated, and in the middle of all this happening, she's trying to tell people, because she's naive and to it, and she's like, hey, like, don't you know who I am? They're like, yeah, we don't care. They're typical tough guys, right? Who don't care. Well, in walks Thanos, and he just lays it on him, destroys him. And Thanos, he's like, what happened to you? He's like, I told you. He's like, look at you now. Like, look what happened. All you had to do was listen to me. And so he takes her, back to his ship, and she comes to, she gets better, but at the same time, he mechanically replaces some of her parts, much like we see happened with Nebula. And we actually even see in Guardians of the Galaxy, they actually say that she's cybernetically enhanced. So Gamora is part robot. She's already, or part, however you want to say it. It may not be robot, but she's part mechanical. And that's what happens in that particular issue. Pretty gross stuff. Now, we do see, the other thing I want to point out is, like I was saying, in this particular issue right here, Avengers Nebula. In this particular issue, she actually steals the Sanctuary 2 to use it to attack, I believe, the Avengers. She's planning on taking over planets and stuff like that. She's a bad person. Nebula's not a good person, okay? Even in the MCU, she's been very, very bad. Just because she happens to kiss and make up with Gamora all of a sudden doesn't make her good, okay? It doesn't. So she's doing things in this particular issue. She got control of the Sanctuary too. She's using it for her own means. Even in the Infinity Gauntlet story, we see that she does eventually take control of the Gauntlet and all those kinds of things. Now, the thing is about these particular girls, and we see that in the movies, and I'm wondering if we're gonna get that out of Avengers Endgame, is Nebula and Gamora. Okay, these poor girls, they have Stockholm syndrome. Okay, they have Stockholm syndrome. Thanos has been a very bad person. For one, he abducted them. He took them from their home planet and destroyed their home planet. Okay? He trained them to be fierce killers, okay? I'm sure they love and respect him still, but I'm telling you, it's Stockholm syndrome, okay? They still want to satisfy him. That's what they're there to do. And as sad as it sounds, I mean, it's the truth, okay? They have Stockholm syndrome, and they still, no matter what, and we see it, we see proof of it, they still want to impress him, okay? We see clearly in Avengers Infinity War, Gamora does love Thanos. She has confused feelings for him. She had problems attacking him. She cried after she stabbed him. He obviously loves her. We see that he sacrificed her for the Soul Stone. And she was crying. She was crying the whole time. Okay, she was very emotional. They have Stockholm Syndrome. It's just happened. Okay, now that being said, we know Gamora's dead. Now Nebula is still alive, and I can guarantee you, no matter what, she is still seeking the approval of Thanos. And I think we may get an evil version of Nebula in this movie, but I don't know. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, because it just seems obvious. It just seems obvious that she still wants to impress him, and I mean, I don't know. To me, there's just really no denying that fact. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to talk about was this issue right here. I didn't get to yet, the Gatherers Saga, so I'll talk more about that one later, maybe tomorrow. The other one I want to talk about, maybe I should just get into this really quick. Okay, they obviously have this issue here. This is the final battle from Avengers Infinity Gauntlet. And in case you don't know what happens in this issue, basically what happens is at this point, Thanos is already omnipotent. And, he's basically going off fighting the Avengers in space. Okay, they're in space on his own little place that he's basically made up. And I believe we've probably seen this place in the MCU already. I think it's probably the planet where we see like him and the other are on, where he's sitting on his little throne and everything, kind of in space. I'm guessing that this is basically the same place where the Avengers come to attack him in the Infinity Gauntlet saga. Okay, now we see in this book that they're in space, they're fighting Thanos, trying to get the gauntlet, and then eventually Nebula does get her hands on the gauntlet, and what does she do? She goes and gets the Infinity Gauntlet, and she basically says, I want to undo everything that happens in the last 24 hours, and she snaps, and that's it. Everything happens, and it goes back to the way it was 24 hours ago, and she turns into a ghost of herself, like exactly what happened. She just turns into a ghost of herself, because in the books she's at this point, she's essentially, like, at the beginning of the series, she was just like I don't know, she looked almost like a zombie. So she snapped her fingers to undo everything that he'd done for the past 24 hours, which turned her back into this ghost. The gauntlet falls to the ground, and that's about it. And everybody races to try to get it. So, and who ends up getting it? Adam Warlock gets it. Anyway, that's all. Like I said, these children have got Stockholm syndrome, okay? And they want to impress him. And I think we may get a version of Nebula in the movie that's still out there, that's bad, that still wants to impress Thanos. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is this right here, this Avengers Endgame book. Let's see if I can get the glare off that for you. Okay, this one right here. Now, this just released this week too, if you didn't watch my comic book pull list. Now, in this particular issue, it didn't actually come out as Endgame, the original one. It was this right here, Avengers: The Final Battle. Okay, now in this particular issue, once again, funny parallel to be drawn here is looks like we got somebody here with a comment here. Ubito, I'm gonna butcher the last name, man. Uchiha. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, Obito. And if I even butchered your first name. Hulk gets a giant Infinity Gauntlet. It could be. I mean, it's certainly possible. It's really hard to say. It's possible that he gets an Infinity Gauntlet. But again, just getting an Infinity Gauntlet and undoing a snap just like that seems a little lazy. But there would be a challenge in doing that. So it's nothing I would discount. It's totally possible. Now, in this particular Avengers issue, let me see. God, what was the name? Was this originally published as? It was originally published as Avengers number 71. Okay, now in this particular issue, basically what happens is, what's his name? Black Knight goes to, some sacred altar and says, hey, like, what's going on? What can I do to save it? And they're like, oh, and one of his ancestors says, hey, and brings him to the astral plane to show him what's going on in the past, and what happens basically is going to affect their future. And he's like, oh, well, can I do something to help, to save it? And he's like, well, sure, we could send you back. So he sends him back to try to help. So what happens in this issue is, this is very interesting. The Avengers, actually, the three of them, God, who was it? It was Vision, Black Panther, and Yellow Jacket, who's obviously Hank Pym. They actually all get sent, and God, who sends them there? Kang gets a hold of the Avengers, because, obviously Kang is out to destroy them. Kang sends the Avengers back to 1941. What was it? 1941 Germany? Was it Germany they sent them to? Let's see. It doesn't say here. I'm sure I could probably find it, but he basically sends them back to. He sends them back to French occupied, or I guess Nazi occupied France. Okay, back in 1941. Now this just seems a little odd that King the Conqueror sends our Earth's mightiest heroes back to this time, and I will get more into that in just a minute. Now the thing is, what happens here is they get sent back to time, and they are confronted by 3 Avengers in that time, being Captain America, Human Torch, and Namor the Submariner. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with the Human Torch in this particular issue, because he says something about being like a machine or a robot. I have no clue. I'm clueless right there, as I haven't read all of those issues leading up to this or behind it. But in this particular issue, they are in 1941 France that's Nazi occupied, and they're there, and they have to fight Captain America. They have to fight the other Avengers in this particular issue to basically win the day, defeat King the Conqueror, and return to their times. Now, through all that, who put them up to it? Well, it is actually started because it's a game between the Grandmaster and King the Conqueror. Now, if you just were here a few minutes ago, I actually just said that King the Conqueror's alter ego is Immortus. Immortus, who is actually teased in the Avengers Endgame spots in a roundabout way. Now, the interesting thing is here, they go back to 1941. This is the time when, actually in the MCU, Captain America wasn't even Captain America yet. Okay, Captain America didn't come in Captain America even in the movies until 1943, because they went for and got the Red Skull got the Tesseract in 1942, and 6 months later, Zola had recreated the power of the Tesseract and all that stuff. Now, I think all of this stuff just seems so peculiar to me. Okay, in case you weren't here earlier, I was talking about that Avengers issue where they get sent back in, Captain America gets sent back in time. Immortus uses characters from the past to attack the Avengers, and then in this issue, we actually got Avengers being sent back in time. Now, I just want to say that I think, in all these trailers, we see, man, I swear we see, and other people have talked about this too, we see different versions of these characters. We see Captain America in no less than 3 different suits. We see him in the suit from what do we see him in the suit from Captain America Winter Soldier. We see him in his, it looks like the suit from Age of Ultron, but it's got like the chainmail. Then we see him in like a dark version of the chainmail suit as well. Now that particular suit looks much like the one that we've seen in Infinity War, but without the stuff covering like the chainmail look on it. So, and we've seen different versions of Tony Stark. We've seen him looking older. We've seen him looking younger. Now, about Steve Rogers. Now, when we see Steve Rogers in these trailers, I'm telling you, we see a bunch of different versions of him here. Like I said, we see the different suits, but we also see where we see him in the scene with the Quantum Realm suit on. Did you notice how skinny his neck and his head looked in that shot? When he's in that suit, he looks super skinny. And I'm not saying that, if you know me, when it comes to like fitness and things, skinny doesn't mean that he's not tough or anything like that. He doesn't have muscles. He just looks really skinny. And then later in the shots where we see all of them are in the Avengers compound and they all stand up, and there's like Nebula and Rocket and Scott Lang and Hawkeye and Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. We see them all stand up and they all turn around and look at the camera, and we see Steve Rogers standing there at the very front in that gray shirt. And he looks huge. I mean, you see his pecs bulging from that big shirt that he's wearing. He looks stacked. And then we see him, he don't look as big when we see him sitting in front of the mirror after he just got done shaving. we see a lot of different versions of Steve Rogers in these previews. We see a lot of versions of Natasha Romanoff in these characters or in these trailers. Now, the one thing I do want to say about Natasha Romanoff that I think a lot of people are discounting when they're talking about her hair length and things like that is, okay, Natasha Romanoff is a master of disguise. That's what she does. She infiltrates places, okay? That's what she does. She's a spy. So her hair, people trying to make just like a bunch of basis things just based off of her hair, that's really nothing, okay? She's gonna have a bunch of different hairstyles. That's what she does. She's a master of disguise, okay? So it's kind of a weak argument just using her hair length or her hair color, saying that, you know, this proves a passage of time or something, because it really doesn't. Okay, we see Clint Barton. We see different versions of Clint Barton in these trailers. Okay, so far we see different versions of Clint Barton, different versions of Natasha Romanoff, different versions of Steve Rogers, different versions of Tony Stark. I can't say the same for a lot of these other characters. It's just hard to tell. Obviously, Carol Danvers is from a different time. So, just given what I see in these books, and given what we've seen in the trailers, I do think the Avengers are going to go back in time. Maybe they're going to collect other Avengers to use them to battle. Or maybe they just, maybe we just see different versions of them because they hop back in time, whether it be through barf or they actually come out with a way to time travel. Or I guess for me, it's not time travel. It would be going to an alternate universe, which we do know they have. They've done that. I think that we're going to see different versions of these characters. Are they going to fight? I don't know. Maybe they do. According to this issue, though, I think they might fight. And according to the other one I was talking about, that Avengers issue number 10, where Immortus uses historical figures to fight the Avengers and to fight the Masters of Evil, maybe we get past versions of Earth's Mightiest Heroes fighting each other. I don't know. There's so many different versions that we see in these trailers, and also obviously we know there's going to be a butterfly effect to all that. So if one of, say, like Steve Rogers all of a sudden sees a past version or a future version of himself, what's he going to think? What's he gonna? He's probably gonna flip out. He's probably gonna not know how it happened. And could this be Skrulls? Are we getting Skrulls? Is this secret invasion or something? Man, I just don't know. And I hate to think that maybe what we're seeing in these trailers is Skrulls disguised as some of the Avengers. Now, some people have, kind of said that would be highly disappointing. I don't think it'd be disappointing. It just depends on how the Skrulls are other heroes in the movie, So it just kind of depends. I won't be disappointed if we get Skrulls in it. Now, the thing is another hint. The Russos actually said that perhaps, they would return, to direct another future MCU movie if it happened to be like Secret Wars. All right. Now, I've never read Secret Wars myself. Like I said, I just got back into reading comic books last year after a 25-year hiatus. I don't think I ever read it before, and I will go back and read it. But the thing is everyone's trying to figure it out. Nobody wants to believe what the Russos say, but maybe Secret Wars is what we're getting in this movie. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. But you never know. Maybe. Who knows? Now, going just along with that, another thing that I have actually, something I actually like. I'm not sure if you guys have ever read Secret Empire. A lot of people didn't like Secret Empire. I honestly don't get it. I kind of get it, but I don't get it. Okay. Now, the thing is I almost wonder, and I think it would be cool if they actually gave us a version of Secret Empire, so we get an evil version of Steve Rogers, so we get all these different versions of people. And if you've never read Secret Empire, I would highly suggest that you do. But in Secret Empire, basically Steve Rogers becomes the Hydra Supreme. He's a bad guy. Obviously, he's in charge of, Hydra. And he takes over the world. And he does it in like an amazing fashion. That's why I don't see why people don't like the story, because Steve Rogers' character comes through even when he is an agent of Hydra, and that was something I just found really cool about that story. But Now, in this story, I was thinking it would be so great if we got a version of that, because even if they just did 5-10 minutes, when they're flashing to an alternate reality or something, if they paid homage to that, where they go to a world where Steve Rogers is actually the leader of Hydra. And like I said, it doesn't have to be very long. We get a bad version of Steve Rogers, and the reason I say that is because we have all the makings of Civil War II already. Civil War II, all the makings are there for Civil War II, which Civil War II, in case you don't know, leads into Secret Empire. Now, in Civil War II, they were having a battle over predictive justice, kind of like that movie Minority Report. There was a kid, Ulysses, who was how would you say, his gift was seeing things that were about to happen. I'm not sure what they would call that. I guess he just could predict the future, I guess. And it wasn't necessarily predicting futures that he was doing. He wasn't predicting them. It was just things that happened, and he got visions. So in Civil War II, they were fighting over predictive justice. And what happens is Thanos actually comes down and attacks because he wants the Cosmic Cube. Now, the Cosmic Cube is a whole other story I'll get into some other time. But he comes down to attack. They know that he's coming, thanks to Ulysses. They get Thanos. They stop him. They trap him. And everything is all good, right? Right? Not right. Because Tony Stark has a problem with predictive justice. Captain Marvel is all for it. Steve Rogers is actually... God, I can't remember whose side he was on in this one. He was actually on the side of... actually, he wasn't really on either side, because at the time he was getting ready to take over anyway. So I think he was kind of on Carol Danvers' side in this case. But regardless, I think it would be something cool to see in the movie. They could pay homage to it, as we do see they've got all the makings there. We've got Carol Danvers, we've got Thanos, we've got predictive justice. We actually seen with Zola's algorithm in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Okay, they had the exact same thing. They had the helicarriers out there going to carry it out. So it would be cool if we got those versions of those characters. But getting back to past versions of these characters, I want to show you all, and let me see if I can get these slideshows back up and show you exactly what I'm talking about here with some of these shots. Okay, we don't need that one. We don't need that one. Let's see, that one I already talked about. This one, okay. No, that's not it. Let's see, where are we at here? Is it this one? No. Where's the one I'm looking for? Anyway, we get a bunch of these. I'm just gonna go ahead and let the slideshow go. We get a bunch of different versions of, like I said, we get a bunch of different versions of these characters in the trailers. Now, the next thing is we see some shots. Okay, we see some shots in these trailers that seem like callbacks to previous movies that we've already seen. Now, in the particular scene that I want to talk about, I don't know if it's ever going to come up here. This scene right here with Tony Stark. Bam! Okay, look at that imagery there in the background. It's not going to last very long. Let me see if I can change that. Let me see. Oh, no, go back. Okay, maybe when that comes back around, I'll see if I can pause it and get it back to there. But anyway, in that particular scene, we see Tony Stark. He was there, and in the background, it looks like there's been an attack. We're all assuming that it's Avengers headquarters, and it very well could be. And I just want to say that imagery in the scene, it looks a lot like when we watched what was it, Captain America: The First Avenger. If you remember on the scene when Captain America goes to save Bucky, when they in the scene where he goes to save Bucky, oh man, whew, okay, sorry. In the scene when he goes to save Bucky, and then when he proceeds to take down, he's going in to take down Hydra, we see in the background all these pictures of dang it. We see a bunch of pictures in the background where everything is exploded, and dang it, I keep going past it. When Captain America is there attacking, and dang it, it happened again. I'm just gonna get this slideshow off of there if it's obviously not gonna work for me. Anyway, in Captain America, we see Captain America when he's going and taking down all the different Hydra bases, everything's starting to explode. We see, and it looks exactly like that scene with Tony Stark, where there's a bunch of concrete laying around. It looks exactly like that. It's all cloudy. Now, I was wondering if maybe Thanos, when he went to get the Soul Stone, maybe he makes a deal with the Red Skull. Remember, Red Skull's been there for, a lifetime. He might have told Thanos something, and maybe, according to the trailer and those cryptic words by Peggy Carter, she says, best we can do is none of us can go back. The best we can do is start over. And maybe that's not true. Maybe they actually do find a way to go back, and I'll get into that in just a minute too. Maybe they find a way to go back in time and maybe change things and stuff like that. Now maybe they end up back in 1940s Germany, where all these attacks are happening, and maybe they're there to get the Tesseract. And maybe Thanos shows up at that exact same time to get the Tesseract because he knows that they're going there for it. Now, how would that play out? Maybe, just maybe, the Red Skull would actually at that point have the knowledge of the Tesseract and Thanos getting ready to come for it, and maybe he's playing along because maybe Thanos is going to let Red Skull basically have domain over the Earth while he gets the entire universe. Kind of like the deal that Thanos had with Loki at the very beginning of Avengers. I don't know. I mean, it's just a possibility. Just a possibility. Maybe they go back and they do that. Now, God, there was something else that had to do with Thanos and going back in time like that. Is because obviously in the post-credits scene of Captain Marvel, we did see those tubes with the blue liquid in it. That the liquid that gave Steve Rogers his powers was blue, just like that. Granted, it wasn't in those same type of vials, but maybe they go back there with that intention to maybe get some super soldier serum and possibly get the Tesseract. I don't know. It just seems like something that could happen. We've seen proof of that. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say we've seen roundabout proof of that in these trailers. God, what was the next thing? Okay, you know what? Now let me get back to that slideshow, and I will show you. This is the next thing I want to talk about. These Avengers compound here, okay? We've seen a bunch of pictures of the Avengers compound. Okay, and I'm going to slow that down right there. We can see here the Avengers compound. Oh, I'm covering my face. Okay, there's a lot of different versions of Avengers compound in these trailers. Now, this right here in particular is where we first seen it. Now, notice the layout here. This particular scene is when the first time that we ever seen Avengers headquarters. This right here is Avengers headquarters from oh god, I can't remember which movie that was. Now, this is Avengers headquarters that we get in the trailer. Okay, now notice how the layout is there. It's very different from what we get, from what we've had in the past. Oh, dang it. Of course, this thing never wants to play, wants to work with me now. Anyway, this layout is different from the different layouts that we have had in the past of Avengers headquarters. Let's see, is it gonna go through? Anyway, we get a bunch of different these layouts of Avengers headquarters. Man, this thing's gonna make me mad. Anyway, and I think that's one of the misleading things, and that's why I think we might be getting different versions of these characters, or this is just all fake. You know, this could possibly be fake. Get that. It's just not one to work for me. This thing sucks. Okay. Anyway, we see all these different versions of Avengers Compound, and I think that, like I said, I think there's alternate realities here. And I do think that Tony Stark is actually going to be, he actually makes a device for them to hop through to different, to different realms or to different parallel realities. Now, the reason I think that he has this tech is because we see in the first Avengers movie, we clearly see when they're on the helicarrier, when they're all first starting to meet up, Tony Stark, they're talking about what Loki's plan is, and they're talking about opening a doorway to space, and they're all sitting there saying, "Oh, that's impossible." And Bruce Banner is saying, "Oh, well, he can't do that." And Tony Stark steps in and says, "Unless Selvig has found a way to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect." Okay, they were using quantum clear back in the first Avengers movie. Now he says, unless Selvig has found a way to, man, I can't remember how I just said that. And unless he's found a way to basically nail down the quantum tunneling effect. And we can clearly see in the movie that he did. He got the iridium, and they made that big portal using the Tesseract. They used that portal that shot off, and remember they put it on Avengers Tower and it shot off into space and it opened up that portal to which then all the Chitauri came through. That was a portal through time and space. And I say time and space because to travel through a doorway, through different spaces, basically through this portal from Earth to a different place in space, you're bending time. Okay, you're bending time, you're bending space. It's a space-time continuum, and that's what they're doing there in that scene. Eric Selvig made a way for them. He made a portal for them to travel through. Okay, he made that portal, and I think Tony Stark is going to replicate that. In case you've seen the Avengers Endgame trailer, we see that they got the Avengers logo and it's got that circle around it and it seems like it's rotating. Okay, now we've seen in the Black Order comics that just happened not too long ago, they actually show a planet that has a bunch of what do they call it? Wormholes that are surrounding it. And they specifically say if any of those wormholes gets destroyed or moves, basically it collapses on itself. And these portals look exactly like that circle that's engulfing the Avengers logo in the trailers. So I'm guessing maybe Tony Stark actually makes a portal for them to travel through to alternate realities. And he does that with that same technology that Eric Selvig made in the first Avengers movie. How did they power it? It was powered with the Tesseract. They don't need the Tesseract to power it at this point. For one, they don't have the Infinity Stones. They don't have the power for the Tesseract. But what they do have is the mere fact that Tony Stark replicated the power of the Space Stone. And I've talked about this at length before, Dr. Zola actually did that himself clear back in 1942. He'd done it far before the Starks did. Okay, regardless of all that, they have replicated the power of the Space Stone. Okay, so Tony Stark don't need the Space Stone for this portal to work. He just needs the power to power it. They have that power. If you create the portal, that's all they need. Okay, that's all they need is that portal. And I think Tony Stark has the technology to do it. In case you don't remember, after the events of the first Avengers movie, after, the Battle of New York, I'll get the poster right up there, you probably can't see it. The Battle of New York, it's right there, see it? I started about the Battle of New York. After the Battle of New York, Damage Control came through and fixed everything, right? They started doing the cleanup, okay? Who do you think got a hold of that thing? Well, first of all, Tony Stark probably had a hold of it because it was on Stark Tower at the time. But he has the portal. He has the portal to bend space, to go from one place to the other, like that. They don't need to use Stormbreaker. They don't need anything like that. He has the portal. The only thing he don't know is a way to dial it into exactly where they want to go. But they've got Rocket around. They've got Captain Marvel around. They've got other things that have transpired that will easily give them a way to figure all that out. Okay, now let's also not imagine that these things are far-fetched, because remember, on Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok, Sakaar is fully covered by these portals, these dimensional gateways. So that actually only goes to play into what I was talking earlier about, like the Immortus comic, this comic right here, all these different comics. It only plays into that. I mean, you get a portal, you go somewhere else, you go to a different time, you go to a parallel reality. And we know they know about parallel realities because in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie, when Bill Foster was giving his lecture, we clearly see on the chalkboard in the background, we see like there's a little doorway, there's a guy on one side of it, and he walks through it, and he's completely different. Okay? They've laid the groundwork for all of this stuff, man. They've laid the groundwork for all of it. Tony Stark can make a portal to travel through space. And I honestly, I think they're going to. I think they're going to use that portal and they're going to travel. They're going to make their own wormhole and travel through it. He's made that. He's also made them suits. Now everybody's talking about these. Everybody's calling them quantum suits. I don't think they're quantum suits. Now A lot of people do, and that's perfectly fine. They could be. I could totally be wrong here, but I think they're spacesuits. I think there's suits for them to survive in space, or maybe to travel through this portal without being affected. Okay, because I think they probably would be affected if they went into that kind of an environment, like where they're traveling through space like instantaneously. I think they would need something to travel through that. But also in the Infinity Gauntlet story, we see that the Avengers are attacking Thanos in space, and they had a spell from Doctor Strange to help them survive in space. But in this, was it this one? I think it was this particular issue right here, where Nebula has the Sanctuary and Black Knight comes in to help them. They actually have like helmets that come over the head to help them breathe in space. And in this particular issue, Hercules actually is only wearing a helmet. He's not even wearing a suit because he's strong enough. Who does that remind you of? Maybe Thor. We actually seen that Thor fell through space to Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok. Okay, so did Loki, and we don't know how long Loki was there. Maybe Loki plays a huge part in there, because we never actually found out how long Loki was on Sakaar. Maybe he was there long enough that he made a deal with the Grandmaster. And like I said, in this issue, they were talking, the Grandmaster. Was it this issue? I'm pretty sure it was. The Grandmaster and Kang were having basically their own contest of champions, and that's what the Avengers were fighting each other for. So maybe we're getting something like that here. Maybe Thanos goes to the Grandmaster and plays this game. Maybe it's Loki that starts this game with him. Let's not forget that Loki did have a deal with Thanos in the first place. So maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe this is just some giant cosmic game. I mean, the Endgame. Somebody's playing chess with Earth's mightiest heroes, with our heroes. So maybe, and who would that be? What cosmic entities do we even know about that would do something like that? Obviously, Grandmaster hosts these kinds of things. Okay, he hosts these types of events. Who else? Who else would he deal with? I mean, possibly there's other cosmic entities. There's Galactus. At this point, Thanos is one. We've heard of Eternity already in the MCU. So there's other people who could be playing a part in this. Maybe it's Mistress Death. We've heard Death teased in here. That was in the first Avengers. To court them is to court Death. So like I said, maybe there's somebody there playing a contest of champions with Earth's mightiest heroes, and maybe that's just what's going on here. Maybe we're gonna see the Avengers of the past fight the Avengers of the future. Okay. It just seems obvious from these comic books that I've been reading that they've been releasing these True Believers comic books. It just seems possible. And there was another thing too. Everybody's been talking about Thanos. Maybe Thanos is going to die in the beginning. Thanos has no reason to fight now. He's got the Infinity Gauntlet. What's he going to fight for? We see him at the very end of Infinity War on his farm with a smile on his face, and we see him in the trailer where it looks like he's wearing his shirt. Like I said, it looks like the shirt that I wear when we go to Renaissance Fair. It's just like, just like he's a farmer. Now, in the very end of the Infinity Gauntlet, God, what was that? In the very end of this issue right here, Infinity Gauntlet issue number 6, we see that they actually travel. Adam Warlock travels with Pip and Gamora to visit Thanos on Titan. We see that right here in the pages, right? You can see. Oh, am I going the wrong way here? You can see Thanos right there. Bam. He's on his farm. He's chilling. He's hanging out, man. He's having a good day. Look at him. They go and they talk to Thanos. Okay, now the thing is at this point, Thanos is no longer has the gauntlet. Adam Warlock has it. Is Adam Warlock going to be in Endgame? High probability. I would say yes. I would definitely say yes. But is he the only one? It's a high possibility because he's already been teased. We've already seen him in Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, the other person that I want to say we could possibly see, and I know, everybody's going to want to say no to this because we all know about the Fox Disney deal. We know all about that. They could have made a deal in the past. I'm just going to use that as my defense here. Is Galactus. Galactus has been teased, okay? Galactus has been teased in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay? It was in the Captain Marvel movie. And Galactus is certainly high on the list of people who could potentially show up here. Now, the reason I say Galactus has been teased is, in case you don't remember, in case you haven't been out to see the Captain Marvel movie, the Skrulls basically ended up, they're looking for a new home planet. Why? Why are the Skrulls looking for a new home planet? Because their home was destroyed. Who destroyed their home? They didn't say in the movie, did they? I don't recall in Captain Marvel them saying who destroyed their home. But we can, I think it's this issue right here. You could read through this issue and find out that who destroyed the Skrulls' home world was actually Galactus. Galactus actually destroyed the Skrulls' home world. And now, that means that if Galactus is going to show up, and if that was an actual tease, that means that Galactus actually destroyed the Skrulls' home world clear back, as far as we know, at least back in the 90s, because that's when Captain Marvel took place. So Galactus was clear back then. And imagine now, once we've got the Infinity Stones in play, we've got Thanos performing a snap, just all these other things that are going on that would get Galactus' attention. Okay? Our very strength in, I can't remember exactly how it was that Vision said that, but it was about the causality. Their very strength invites, a challenge, and who's going to want to come challenge them? Other cosmic entities. Now, I know some of this sounds far-fetched, but at this point, so far, two of my guesses are high on the list are that it's Galactus could be appearing, because like I said, I mean maybe that's just for a future movie, but they did tease Galactus in the Captain Marvel movie, because Galactus is who destroyed the Skrulls' home world. Now, like I said, the other one is Kang the Conqueror, or Immortus in this case, because we did get that 1064 on that address in the background on that house behind Scott Lang. Okay, 1064, Avengers issue number 10 from 1964, when Immortus comes back, sends Captain America back in time. Bam! I'm telling you. Now, do I think time travel? No. Alternate reality? Yes. Now, like I was saying about those Stark suit, the suits that Stark has made. Stark has all this technology. I believe he actually made those suits that they're wearing. Everybody's wanted to call them quantum suits. I think they're space suits. Tony has had these suits made. If you go back and watch Avengers Infinity War, we know that he had suits made. He clearly says when Spider-Man is going on the Q ship, he says, Friday, unlock 17A. As immediately after he does that, it flashes to a scene. Dun, 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 and you see on this little screen, it shows the Avengers compound that has the layout that I showed you. If you go back and watch my my past videos, let me see if I can pull those things back up here. If you go back and see those the past Avengers compound, oh man, where'd it go? Man, I'm just gonna forget this. It shows a picture after he says unlock 17A. It shows a picture of the layout of Avengers compound, and then the screen changes and it shows a bunch of capsules. Bloop, bloop, they all move and one shoots out, and then it pans from that little HUD screen to that same room where it shows the cannon shoot out Spider-Man's costume. It shoots out and goes and it saves Spider-Man. And what did that thing allow Spider-Man to do? That suit, what did the Iron Spider suit do? It allowed Peter Parker to breathe in space. It allowed him to breathe. It allowed him to function. It had the little arms on it, for that the Iron Spider has. That suit that he made was made of nanobots, I'm gonna guess, and it allowed Peter Parker to survive in space. I think he made all those suits for the Avengers, and he had them already ready to go. In Avengers Infinity War, after Bruce tells him what's going on, Bruce tells him, he goes, what's his name again? He goes, it's Thanos. He's the biggest, he's the baddest, he's la la la. And Tony Stark looks right down to himself and says under his breath, this is it. And I believe he's probably talking to Friday, because Friday's always listening. I believe he's probably talking to Friday, and he has those suits ready to go. He's got them. He's ready. Tony Stark is prepared. He's been prepared for the Endgame. Now, he made these suits, and I believe they were made with, they have housing units, just like nanobots and things like those. We seen the one shoot off onto Peter Parker, and it all engulfed him and became, the Iron Spider suit. Now, I'm not sure if that's the wrist devices that we see them all wearing in the trailers, or if these are just something that materialize. But a lot of people have said that they're quantum realm suits, and maybe the Pym particles are gonna play a spot. I'm not gonna rule that out either, because that very well could be. But now the thing is about his suits, if they're made of nanobots, you can clearly see in the movies that Tony Stark's suit, the nanobots, can form into whatever weapon he wants. They form into whatever he wants. Okay, kind of like if you've ever seen Big Hero 6. Same kind of thing. He thinks it and it happens. His suit is made of magic. He's got a magical suit. Now, he has these magical suits made all for the Avengers. And if he wants to add to it, once he gets the Pym particle, the things that Scott Lang is going to possibly bring to him, all he has to do is think about how he wants to add that particle into those suits to integrate it into it, and it happens. It just happens like that. You don't have to work on the technology. It's done. It's a done deal. You don't have to integrate anything at that point. So he's got the suits made, he's got the technology made, we can see that he can obviously probably replicate all the power of all the stones, I'm willing to bet. Except I'm sure there's some that he probably can't. They probably do have to study him. But he's got all the suits. Tony Stark is ready. Okay, he's got the portal, he's got the suits. There's something else I started to think about while I was talking about this, and I completely forgot what it was. But man, he's got the suits, he's ready to go, they've got a mission, they've got a plan. Ooh, another thing in those trailers, in a lot of the TV spots that have been releasing lately, we see, and you know what, and honestly, this is something you're probably rarely ever going to see me do on this channel, okay? I actually had to issue, like, a huge maybe retraction or maybe a huge apology to Michael Roman over at Everything Always, and I'm gonna tell you why right here, because I actually even made one of my videos where I was laughing at this dude, okay, because he was talking about those Avengers Endgame Lego leaks, in which he was talking about the the Hulkbuster sized War Machine. Okay, he says, oh man, this thing must be the size of a skyscraper. And believe me, I laughed so hard about that. I think I even left a comment on his channel. I was laughing so hard about that. Now, all of a sudden to me, it doesn't seem so impossible. And I'm going to tell you why right now. In the recent TV spot, one of the recent TV spots, we see War Machine we see him landing on the ground. We see him landing on the ground, and he scares Scott Lang. And he says, hey, what's up, regular sized man? And I seen somebody else post a version of this trailer, and it was just so low budget and low quality, but it was really choppy. It looked like it was just moving too slow, like the frames per second were matching up to what they had. But as he was coming to the ground, as War Machine was landing, it actually looked like he was shrinking. It actually looked like he was shrinking down back from a giant size to normal size. And I think that joke that he was making there towards Scott Lang deals with exactly that. I think Tony Stark has been playing with the Pym particle and actually added it to their suits. And I think War Machine actually does get to be the size of a skyscraper, just like Giant Man. I think he goes big. I think he does. Like I said, I think Tony Stark adds that technology into his suits. He adds it into the War Machine suit, and I think that's what's going on in that scene. His War Machine actually does blow up to be the size of a skyscraper. And I hate to admit this, but man, Michael Roman, dude, I apologize, bro. I apologize to you because I called you out on that one big time on my channel. And like I said, I think I even left a comment on your channel. And I know, Michael Roman, you're not watching this. But if you ever do, dude, hugest apologies, because I actually think you might have been right on that. I think War Machine gets to be the size of a skyscraper in this movie. Okay. So I think that's one other thing that's going to happen. We do see the Avengers headquarters gets attacked in these scenes. Now, exactly how and why that happens, I don't know. I think people are starting to speculate that we see in one of the latest trailers the Sanctuary 2 crashing to the ground. You see a bunch of clouds around it. That easily could be the Sanctuary 2 crashing into Avengers headquarters. And, maybe Nebula actually got control of the Sanctuary 2, and maybe that's what she's doing. Maybe she's the one crash landing it into the Avengers headquarters. I mean, we see in the movies that she likes crashing planes or aircraft into stuff. Maybe it's her. And like I said, I've already said maybe there's an evil her. And speaking of which, all of the, in the trailer we get some callbacks. We get callbacks. I mean, a lot of the films look reminiscent. Like I said, when we see after the explosion, we see that scene where Nebula is there and she draws her baton. She's like, ah! It looks just like the scene we seen on Titan 2. Or is it Titan? It would have been Titan at that point. It looks just like the scene on Titan when she goes to attack Thanos. When she arrives and attacks Thanos, it looks the exact same. Just like the scene where Steve Rogers, we see him where it looks like he's strapping up his shield and he's like, and it looks like he's maybe gathering himself and but it looks like he's wincing in pain. And that scene actually looks, and it reminds me exactly of the scene that we see in Infinity War when Tony Stark gets impaled on his own weapon by Thanos. Maybe in this scene we actually see Steve Rogers getting impaled on something or getting stabbed, because I mean it looks the exact same. And I say that because Infinity War, we're talking about going back and forth in time, go back and forth. We're in this loop. We're in a time loop here. And maybe the circumstance just changes and who dies changes. Okay? Now that's another thing that I had to say about the Immortus thing, my Immortus theory about Immortus. He's the master, he's the master of time and the ruler of the mystic realm called Limbo, where things never change. Now, things never change, but let me talk about something else. It's something called destiny. Okay? Dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same, right? Thanos' own words. Okay, maybe no matter what happens, somebody has to die. Maybe no matter what happens, Thanos gets those stones and does the snap. Maybe no matter what happens, all of those things happen. There is a destiny to play out, and you can't change it. But maybe you can go back and reset as much as possible to the fact where you get a different outcome. Okay, and there's butterfly effect all over that, and yes, it's going to be a mess. Yes, we're talking about time travel here and it being a mess. I'm not talking about time travel. I'm talking about alternate realities. I think all these things are happening. I think we're going to get alternate realities. And oh man, I'm so sorry I haven't even been paying attention to the live chats in a while. It looks like we have a few people in here. Let's see. Tracy, hi Tracy, how you doing? Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Could be. Okay, Marvel Me This. Hey, welcome, man. Dude, long time no see. I hope you're doing well, man. I know you've been really busy with stuff, so I hope all is going well. Let's see. I could see this happening. There's a lot of things I've been talking about. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but yeah, there's a lot of these things I'm talking about. Obviously, I think they could happen. I'm talking about them. Yes, there are time traveling. Now time traveling. I don't know about the time traveling, but I keep saying time travel, but I think it's more like alternate realities, because they've flirted with that in the MCU already. Am I the only one watching? You could be. You could be. I'm a small channel. I got a small audience, and you could be the only one watching, and regardless, it's okay. I'm going to carry on as if there's a million people watching me. But thanks for being here, and if you are the only one, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see some more videos. What you got going on? I know you said you've been really busy, and that's all right, man. We're all busy, man. We all have lives. Just occasionally we get a chance to come on here and make some silly videos talking about some silly theories and things we might have. It's all good, man. It's just nice to have you here. And gotta go. Sorry. It's all good, man. Thanks for showing up. I do appreciate it. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short here. I guess I'm not cutting it short. I've been on here for a while, but these are just some of the things I think are going to happen in this movie. Like I said, I think possibly because of this issue right here, I think we're going to get the Avengers fighting each other. If not just each other like they did in Civil War, maybe we're going to get like another Civil War. Maybe we will get like a Civil War. And that's why I was saying maybe we're going to get like Civil War 2 was. We've got everything there to make it happen, a version of Civil War 2. Not regular Civil War 2 like was in the comics. Obviously, they don't adapt the comics straight to the screen, and I can assure you, most people out there wouldn't want to see Civil War 2 on screen. Okay? But maybe that's what their iteration is going to be. The Russos have already done Civil War 1. They've already done that. Maybe their intentions here are to do Civil War 2. Maybe that's what they're going to do, or just like a version of it. Okay? Sanctuary crashing to the ground, man. I'm telling you, Nebula and Gamora, they got Stockholm syndrome. They got Stockholm syndrome, man. They still want to impress Thanos, man. They love Thanos, and they still want to impress him. And I'm thinking, man, I think we could be getting different versions of these characters, and I think, man, I'm telling you, there's so many different versions of these characters that we see in the trailers. I think they're gonna fight, man. I think because, you know, past Steve Rogers would probably have a problem with what current Steve Rogers is doing, and past Tony Stark would definitely have a problem with current Tony Stark. He flip-flopped, man, and him and Captain America actually kind of flip-flopped. And one other thing, huge thing I forgot to cover. Okay, now it's been speculated. Everyone keeps talking. Everybody keeps saying that Kevin Feige said that all this marketing is only the first 20 minutes of the film. I think we've come to find out that is absolutely not true. Okay, and plus he never actually said that. But one thing I want to point out in these trailers, oh man, let me see if I can find that slideshow. You're gonna have to bear with me on this one because there is this slide I definitely have to show you guys here. That I do not think happens in this movie. Let me see if I can get to it. Where's it at? These are all the Avengers compounds. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. This one right here, yes. Okay, what's the next one gonna go to? Let's see what that next image is. Okay. Okay, yeah, we don't need that one neither. Okay, this one right here. Bam! Okay, I want to show you this image right here. Okay, everyone's been guessing that that is based on the first 20 minutes, and I just got to say, I don't think that's possible at this point. Look at this image right here, okay? I think, I don't know, man. Look at that image. Really look at that image. Okay, again, I don't believe we've seen just the first 20 minutes of this movie. Obviously, I think Tony Stark is going to get back to the Earth. They're going to come up with a plan. They're going to change things. They're going to save the day. A lot of people are going to be saved. I think there are going to be sacrifices. People are going to try to sacrifice themselves. I don't necessarily know that anybody is going to die. And I've speculated that for a while. Maybe nobody's actually going to die. But just maybe things get changed to a point where how would I say? Maybe things get changed to a point where maybe Tony Stark does actually sacrifice himself, or maybe he goes to sacrifice himself, or something so close to that. And that's why I say I don't know that we've gotten the last 20 minutes of just the trailer. I'm thinking maybe Tony Stark actually does die, maybe at the beginning. Because if you look in the trailer, when we see that picture, well, let me show it to you again right here. We see Pepper Potts hugging Tony Stark, and then in the trailer immediately after that, we see, or it might have been right before it, we seen Rocket Raccoon and Nebula sitting there on the steps of what I believe to be the Benatar. Okay, we see them sitting there and they're holding hands, and maybe actually Nebula gets to Earth and Tony Stark is dead. Okay, maybe Tony Stark actually does die, and what leads me to believe that is this picture right here. Look at this picture. Okay, for one, take a look at Pepper Potts. Look at her shoulders compared to Tony Stark's in this picture. Okay, you can see her shoulders are above his. Gwyneth Paltrow is not taller than Tony Stark. We haven't seen her tower over Tony Stark at any point during any of the movies. Anytime they hug, his shoulder is above hers. And look at her in this picture. This picture, man, I'm telling you. Look at that picture. Look what Tony is wearing right there. Look at that shirt. That shirt to me, man, I don't know. Just look at it. It looks like one of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It looks like some Ravager garb, right? I mean, I could be wrong there. I could be wrong. And, they are on Quill's ship, technically. So maybe, just maybe, let me see, didn't get that side right. Just maybe, he just got a shirt that was there on the ship. But maybe Tony Stark actually dies, and maybe Pepper Potts. Maybe Pepper is actually just hugging Nebula right there, and they've superimposed his head on there. Maybe she's giving her a hug, consoling her, and maybe at the same time saying thank you, you know, for bringing Tony back, essentially, and, you know, comforting her, because she actually would have sat there and watched Tony Stark die. I mean, look at that. I mean, let me see if I can blow that up a little bit bigger here for you. Look at what he's wearing there, man. I'm telling you. It's going to get all big and it's going to look all ugly, but look at that picture. Look at that picture. Look what he's wearing. I mean, it looks similar to Nebula's jacket. It looks similar to what the Ravager garb. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tony Stark does die, and that leads me to my next theory that about the 20 minutes. Maybe we don't actually get the first 20 minutes, and maybe at the very end, Tony Stark actually makes it back to Earth alive, just barely. So he goes to sacrifice himself, but he doesn't die. Maybe he actually makes it back to Earth in the very end of the movie. Just maybe, because, you know, like I said, in that picture right there, Pepper Potts looks taller than him. He's wearing a different jacket. That jacket looks just like Nebula's does. It looks just like Ravager garb. So, again, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he dies on his way to Earth. Maybe he dies at the end. Trying to get back to Earth, it's really hard to say. But that scene right there, man, I'm telling you, that jacket that he's wearing is highly suspect. Anyway, that's all I want to, I honestly don't have more time. I'm going to see if I can put more of these into a condensed video and give a little more direction. As I said, I'm doing this live. I just wanted to get these theories out there and let you all know about them. Maybe we get some different versions of these characters. Maybe we don't. Like I said, I'm thinking maybe we see some future, Avengers of the past and present battling, because, like I said, the Avengers of current would definitely have problems with the Avengers of past, because a lot of their ideologies have changed. They flip-flopped. They really did throughout the course of these movies. So maybe that's what we're gonna get. Maybe Tony Stark does die. But I honestly, I'm still under the opinion that maybe nobody dies, and maybe somehow they find a way to undo the effects of the snap. Another thing that I wanted to bring up really quick before I go is this issue right here. This issue was just released. It's the facsimile copy of Spider-Man number 252. And it's after Peter Parker just got back from space and got the symbiote suit and all of those kinds of things. Maybe this is, all these things leading up to the movie, maybe these things are just, like I said, they don't do direct adaptations. Maybe these are just clues for us to help drive us into and theorize off of for Avengers Endgame. Like I said, I think we're going to possibly get past Avengers fighting the future Avengers. That's what we got out of that comic, man. Anyway, that's all I have for this video today, folks. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Second Street Marvel. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell so you get notifications anytime we have uploaded new content. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And the reason you want to be subscribed is because when I do videos like this and go live, it actually sends you a notification out that I'm going to be doing a live video. It lets you know a half hour ahead of time, and it even lets you know as I'm getting ready to go live. And also, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section, because as soon as we hit 200 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a copy of Warner Brothers Aquaman. So make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell so you get notifications anytime we've uploaded new content, and leave a comment down in the comment section to get entered into the giveaway. And while you're at it, make sure you share the video with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the Second Street Marvel, because the sooner we hit 200 subscribers, the sooner I get to give away a copy of Warner Brothers Aquaman. Also, while you're at it, down in the description are some links for the Mountain Man Nut and Fruit Company. The Mountain Man Nut and Fruit Company are the purveyors of fine nuts, dried fruits, and chocolates. They carry over 300 items that you can choose from and have shipped directly to your door. Just follow the link down in the description to go and check out the snacks and purchase some. Also, down in the description are some links for the Vigilantes for Children. The Vigilantes for Children, you can follow them on their social media sites, or even go to their store where you can buy shirts, hats, or decals for your car and show your support for their cause. That's all I have for this video today, folks. Again, thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today for this brief theory video. I guess it wasn't very brief, was it? Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. We will see you all tomorrow on the Trailer Park Live at 8 p.m. You all have a very, very good night. Take it easy.